So welcome to Go Diving. This is the UK's biggest dive show, and we are joined by long-standing patron and supporter of the Shark Trust, Monty Halls. Thank you for joining us, Monty.
No worries, my pleasure to be here, and show's looking good, isn't it? You know, really vibrant, lots of people here, lots going on, and love to see the Shark Trust, plying their trade, as it were.
Thank you. For those of you, for the people who are watching and listening at home, could you give a little bit about yourself, kind of what got you into sharks, and why you're here giving these inspirational talks today?
Of course. So my background really is I've always been associated with the sea, and I'm of an age that Cousteau was all over the telly when I was a kid. So that's where it all kicked off for me. I'm ex-military, joined the Marines, and then left and ended up running expeditions around the world, all based around the marine environment, really, and retrained as a marine biologist, and have made a few ropey old TV shows and written lots of books about the marine environment. And particularly for me nowadays, the big drive and the big push is trying to get the next generation involved, trying to get kids involved, A, in the ocean, and B, in the sort of sustainability and conservation messaging, just to show them that they can do stuff, they can engineer change. So there you go, that's me in 30 seconds.
That's amazing. And through the work you've done, that's how I found out about you before I joined the Shark Trust, through a show you did back in 2010 or maybe just after that. And you, in the episode that kind of sticks with my mind, was one of the most iconic UK species, which I'm sure you know about. I was wondering if you could talk about how it was filming that episode and being in presence of that animal.
Yeah, so basking sharks.
Basking sharks is the word.
So the basking shark is one of the great marine encounters on planet Earth, and we often underestimate what we've got around our coast. We've got incredible species, incredible diversity, we've got all sorts of charismatic big animals, but there's nothing matches a basker, and just the sheer scale of them. Largest one ever was like 35 feet long. They weigh 4 or 5 tons, huge animals. But it's I think it's that primal, visceral feeling when you first see that fin and you sort of glimpse, you've got to have the right day and you've got to get lucky. And then when you slip in the water, and obviously you can't harass the animal needs to sort of come to you, as it were. You never chase them, you never try and swim hard towards them. But to see that fin coming towards you on the surface, and they're huge, the fin stands about this high, and then see it sometimes sort of slip beneath the surface as it comes towards you. I don't care who you are, and I don't care if you happen to know that it eats copepods and doesn't eat anything else. You absolutely raw, ancient, primal fear that you feel initially. And then to see them underwater, this great ram filter feeder. So they do an Olympic swimming pool an hour as they swim along, this big white cavern open. And then they come past you. It's like a submarine coming past you. You never, ever forget it. It's one of the greatest marine encounters anywhere on Earth. And we've got them in larger numbers around the coast of the UK than almost anywhere else in the world. So, yeah, we're spoiled. And I'll never forget. I remember that encounter. I'll never forget it.
That sounds amazing. And I think I speak for anyone who's watching as well, are like incredibly jealous of that amazing encounter. And I think trying to connect people with sharks through diving and stuff like that, and through these experiences, can be so important. Do you have any other experiences with sharks or rays that kind of stick out for you, like in your heart?
Yeah, I mean, I've dived with a lot of sharks in terms of large numbers in a single place. So places like Aliwal Shoal, where you'll have hundreds of black-tip sharks, bronzes, tigers, all around you, all feeding, all kind of. I never felt remotely threatened. You're just another large animal that's turned up to the feast as far as they're concerned. So, I think every encounter I've ever had with a shark anywhere in the world has been positive. It's been a positive thing, but it's operating within boundaries is really key, and understanding they are apex predators. You're in their world, and there's certain behaviours you need to watch out for. There's certain sort of triggers that I think you look out for, and you think, okay, it's time to get out of the water. It's time to give this animal a bit of space. The same as any other animal, really. And ironically, the closest I've ever come to having a negative experience with a shark was a tiny little blue shark off the coast of Ireland. And there were 2 of them feeding, and just the little one, you could tell it was getting bitey. It was nervous about the bigger one. It was coming in at huge speed. We were filming it, and it was just getting bitey. It was biting things as it was coming through. And it was a big dogfish, basically, but that's about as nervous as I've ever been with a shark. And the reason was we overstayed our welcome. We just overstayed our welcome, and we should have got out before that behavior manifested itself. But yeah, your vivid memories of diving often revolve around big animals, and sharks are right at the top of that list, really.
Yeah, and we know about all these like iconic species and kind of the importance of them being in the sea. Like, do you think they are kind of more important now than ever that we do conserve these species?
I think people are gradually, the realization is dawning through organizations like the Shark Trust and the many great charities that operate in this space. Because part of the work is education, isn't it? And informing people that actually sharks, aren't this sort of, horrendous, as we all know, they aren't this horrendous killing machine. They're a very, very important part of the marine ecosystem. And as we all know as well, the sheer numbers, tens of millions being taken out of the sea every year. And again, we know that is having a radical impact on marine ecosystems. And it's an urgent problem. It's urgent because the sea's pretty beleaguered. Marine ecosystems are sort of under stress anyway. If you remove this keystone animal, who knows? Who knows what the long-term impact will be? We're already seeing that, aren't we? We're seeing ecosystems radically affected. So it's so important, the work of the Shark Trust and organisations like that, to keep educating people, keep putting pressure on legislative bodies, on governments, to just try and sort of stop this decline of this very, very important animal in our oceans.
Yeah, and I think to echo that, we've seen huge declines in like oceanic sharks and rays of 71% in the last 50 years of population declines. And what do you think would be the best way to mitigate this and conserve these animals?
I think the best thing we can do is not give up the fight, never give up the fight. And I think sometimes there's a lot of good reasons to give up the fight. You're like, oh God, it's another legislative defeat, or it's another terrible bit of news, or it's another. But I think just keeping going. The 3 rules of effective conservation are persist, persist, persist. Just keep going. And I'm encouraged that the messaging is getting through. It's quite unusual to meet someone, certainly in diving now, who thinks that sharks are anything other than amazing, glorious, beautiful creatures. And that's a great thing. That wasn't the situation 20, 30 years ago. It wasn't. So the education campaigns are working. The pressure that's being applied to, legislative bodies is there. And so there is movement. And we've just got to make the most of it and just think, yeah, we are getting there. But it's just keeping going, isn't it? It's being persistent and thinking, no, we've got a job to do here. Our generation has got a job to do here. And we need to make sure we just push on.
Yeah. And to kind of follow in and add on to that, about that persistence. So at the Shark Trust, as you're aware, we've created the Big Shark Pledge, this campaign of getting this collective global voice that we can use to pressure governments and these legislative procedures. What are kind of your thoughts on that, and would you encourage others to also take part in the Big Shark Pledge?
Oh, in terms of the Big Shark Pledge, I think when you get a mass movement, President Obama said this, of all people. He said the times when an organization becomes truly effective, there's 2 times. One is when it has huge amounts of money, and no charity's got huge amounts of money, and the other time is when it has a huge voice, when it has a huge following. So things like this are really a tangible way of doing that, building a massive following. And that has real weight. That means something. We live in a democracy where things are decided by the largest number that vote for something. So big numbers really mean something. And there's a danger that you feel you're getting lost because it's just you in all these massive arguments. It's just you. But it isn't. With something like the Big Shark Pledge, it's actually thousands, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, potentially millions of people joining in that argument. And then it becomes something very serious that people have to consider and talk to. So yeah, it's a great concept. Good reason to sign up, I'd say.
Fantastic, thank you very much. And lastly, we're wondering if you could obviously you've dived with sharks and rays all around the world. Do you have a single favourite species that just stands out to you, and why have you chosen that?
Easy question. Tiger sharks. I think tigers, they're big old units. There's intelligence there without a doubt. They're incredibly charismatic animals. They're almost a child's vision of a shark. They're big, they're impressive, they're toothy. They'll spoil your afternoon, if you don't treat them with respect. But if you do treat them with respect, you can have the most extraordinary interactive encounters with them. And where you're really, I don't want to get too sort of histrionic but you are two animals sharing a space, and there are sort of interactions between you that go beyond simply observing the shark. Shark's watching you as well. You're moving in the same space together. They're wonderful, wonderful animals. And they're the very top of their predatory tree. So they're super important animals. They're not just sharks, they're big sharks. And so they're right at the top. And so many things, they're what we call a hero species. And so many things rely on tiger sharks within that ecosystem. So yeah, they're just great. And they look great. With all stripes and everything. And oh yeah, definitely tiger shark.
Yeah, I think that's a fantastic choice.
Yeah,
definitely. So thank you so much for taking part in this.
No worries.
And
My
being
pleasure.
a supporter of the Shark Trust.
Keep up the good work.
Hey, I'm Hetty. Thanks for listening to the Shark Trust podcast. Did you know that you can support our work protecting sharks and rays? Here's just some of the ways you can help today. Join our community of passionate shark supporters and gain access to exclusive events and content by becoming a Shark Trust member. You can adopt these incredible animals, directly supporting our conservation efforts and research projects. Make a donation today. Every donation makes a huge difference. Your contribution will go towards funding our vital work all across the world. And finally, if you want to get more hands-on, you can take part in our citizen science projects. Your data and observations are invaluable to understanding the world of sharks. Together, we can make a difference. Visit our website to find out more and take action today.